Hi everyone, this is Marilee.
Hi, this is Mayank.
Welcome to the second episode of Product Breakdown. So this is a weekly series where we discuss a new product every week. And this is hosted by me and Mayank. I'm a product manager at Google. Mayank is a product lead at Facebook. So today, this week we will cover Netflix gaming. So Mayank, what do you have to tell us about Netflix gaming?
Absolutely. I'm super excited. Gaming, I never thought of gaming when it came to Netflix, but they just completely blew my mind. So, Netflix recently introduced, I think they have been trying for some time, but it was in public announcement, the gaming tab where you can go and discover new games. So, that's what they have introduced. They're calling it Netflix Gaming. The question is, how does it really work? So, I'll just share that a little bit. The way it works is you go to netflix.com or your app and you see the gaming tab, tap on it, and you see a list of games. The interesting part is you can't play it yet. You click on those games, you are redirected to App Store or Play Store to see the game which Netflix has actually created. You install the games in your phone or on your phone, and then when you next time go to Netflix app, you can just deep link into the same game and play the game. That's what Netflix is saying is Netflix gaming. It's more of an aggregation of the games they have created all through one destination. That is your Netflix app. So that's Netflix gaming in a nutshell. So, Murali, I think this is interesting, right? Like from where they are coming from, what they're thinking. But I think it's not just about just adding a tab and let them install Netflix games. It's beyond that. Before we go deep into why they're doing this, it'd be good to think about what does it mean for the user when they see this experience.
Yeah, and when you first see this, it's a bit confusing because Netflix is all about shows, it's all about movies, and recently they started creating their own movies, which is great, right? But then introducing this whole gaming angle, what does it mean for the user? How would it work? And you described the process, but in thinking in my own experiences, this would actually make me get more out of the monthly subscription I'm paying. Because sometimes I'm out at the parking lot, I'm waiting, and it would be just so great to just open my phone, use this one app in order to access new content and play and entertain myself. Because this is all about entertainment, right? So we have the shows, we have the movies, now we have this kind of gaming angle, and it's really, really interesting. But you wouldn't expect Netflix to get into gaming. So there's still kind of a mental leap that you need to make as a user, but I think it's super, super cool. And in thinking that you can play a game that's branded at, like Stranger Things or something like that, I think it's a fantastic opportunity to tap onto the gaming market.
Interesting.
But yeah, from a product perspective, there's a lot to think about, like the strategy, but also how would Netflix make money? So what is the business model behind this? Is there a business model or do they just want to test the waters of gaming? So what are your thoughts?
Wow, money. Where is the money? Why is Netflix doing that? Fair question. I think it's an interesting move, right? As you said, they're extending the definition of entertainment to encompass gaming. Why is that? There are many ways to look at that, right? If you look at the current growth rate of Netflix users, it has slowed down significantly. And we can argue it was blown up because of the pandemic and now it is going down, coming to a new normal. Fair enough. But still, they have to figure out how to get the next set of users. If you think about Netflix business model, it's very clear. It's a game of hits, which means the more hits you create, the more buzz it creates, and the more new users come to the platform to try Netflix. The moment they do that, they get hooked onto Netflix and they remain there. That's their acquisition business model, right? Acquisition strategy. Hits, more new users. And then they have a huge repository to retain them. Fantastic. How does gaming play into that? It does exactly that. Now you have a new source of entertainment, to your point, where they can attract new users onto their platform to give it a shot, to give Netflix a shot to play a game now. Now, as users who may not be consuming or want to consume movies or shows, but may want to play a quick game, would give Netflix a shot. So one, it's a new user acquisition strategy. That's number one. So that helps grow their revenue, hence their business. Second, the whole business model, the whole strategy for any content platform is primarily more content means should create more engagement. So as they're adding a new dimension to their content, which is gaming, it'll attract or increase the engagement of their existing users, primarily on the younger side, where people will come to play games versus just consuming content. So as they add new type of content like gaming, the time spent, the views will the expectation it should go up. So I would say increase user engagement. And I think the third angle, which I think is interesting, would be gaming brings a new revenue source if done right. Like if you look at the top gaming companies in the world, gaming doesn't make money by the install. Obviously, it does not. It makes money by actually selling virtual goods within the games. And that's where the money comes from. So I think that maybe one new angle what Netflix could be exploring, that if they launch games, and games are free for sure, or it's within the Netflix subscription, but as people play games, they might buy those virtual shirt or the virtual weapon to play a game within the Netflix ecosystem. Netflix could create a new revenue source in terms of virtual goods sold on the platform. So I think it's an interesting take. 3 angles there. We'll see how it goes. The question again is like, okay, cool. There is user value. There is a way to make money. But how would you measure success here, both in the early days and also once it matures? Murali, what's your take on that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And just to echo what you said, I totally agree with everything you said. There are a lot of people, including myself, actually, sometimes they find watching too passive and not interesting enough. So they want something more interactive. And with the game aspect, you kind of capture these people. And we can even see people activating Netflix accounts just because of these new verticals. I think that's a huge, huge, huge point. So I would say in order to measure success, you can have a count for, hey, how many apps are being installed? The game time, so are people actually playing and using these apps? Stickiness, are people coming back to keep playing? And then revenue, to your point, there is a subscription, makes sense. So as far as Netflix is concerned, Mayank and Mary have, they pay the $12.99 or whatever the monthly rate is. But if you use gaming, it can be an extra $5 or a $10 or $20. And I don't know about you, but I'm very, very guilty with all these freemium games, like the Candy Crush saga. I remember when you were playing and you die, and then this pop-up appears saying, hey, do you want to continue playing? Click here, and ching, immediately you can just spend, I don't know, $50 and you keep playing. So I think that's a really, really good point. But yeah, I would measure success by game time, because this truly shows that the user is being entertained, which is the primary mission of Netflix. And you can also measure kind of the referral, I guess. So referral is very, very important. If, for example, there is a new multiplayer game where I can kind of fight you, or we can both go on kind of a raid adventure, I will convince you to join as well. So referral is another very, very important metric, especially for social gaming, especially nowadays. So I think that's really, really interesting.
Love it.
But the question, go ahead.
But do you think, Marley, I agree with the strategic angle there. Like there is a angle on what they're focusing on: user acquisition, increasing engagement. They can measure that using new apps installed in game time and so on and so forth. But as we look at Netflix, we've also seen how they're evolving the content. Like they started with something and they have been experimenting with a lot of other things. What's your take on the evolution of their content strategy? Primarily, it's a content platform, all right? Like that's what we go there for. What have you seen from a content angle and how it is evolving from where they were and where they are going today?
Yeah, there are a couple of things that come to mind. Number one, something that was very interesting when I first came across it is, when you binge watch shows, and then at the end of the first episode, there's this little counter that comes up and saying, hey, in 5 seconds, I'm playing the second episode. So there's kind of this strategy where content is being served on a ASAP kind of manner, which is great. Number two, on the actual shows themselves, the the typical cliffhanger at the end of the episode so that you are not going to go to bed unless you watch what happens with your favorite hero. But now there is something I wanted to call out, which I experienced, I think it was a couple of years ago, and I don't know if you watched it. So it was Black Mirror. It was this episode. It was called Bandersnatch, where essentially you would watch the episode and then the screen would pause. And you would get a pop-up saying, okay, what should this character do next? And you got a few options, and you could use your remote control to actually choose and say, okay, they would do this, they would do the other. And it got so interesting because it forced the user to go back to the episode and watch again so that they could select the other option just to see what happens.
Wow.
And I think someone on Reddit had plotted out all the possible solutions. And the poor actors, they had to film, I think it was like 90 alternative endings or something like that. But anyway, I think that was the approach of Netflix to make content a bit more interactive and make it feel a bit more immersive. The last thing I'm going to say, because I'm in AR and VR and I love it, is I can see things being a bit more immersive. So I can see kind of a headset either branded by Netflix or someone else, like a partnership, where you can actually either do social watching with your friends. So you just wear your headset and you can kind of turn and see on the same couch your friend or your family. Or you can actually be able to interact with the screen like this. So instead of using the remote to choose the alternate ending, you can kind of do this, or you can be a part of the scene, which would be really, really fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah. So my question to you is, since you've used Netflix gaming a bit more than I have, what would you do to improve it and make it better? Which is kind of the standard PM question, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
No, I would love to. This is a great topic. Just to summarizing like the last part, I like the way you spoke about Black Mirror example. It actually made me feel a part of the content, that I was interacting with it, and I can influence the outcome of what I'm watching, which was never done before. So this journey of passive content consumption, where the hook kept you going to binge watch it, again, very nicely put about a content strategy. There were hooks that kept you pushing to the next level and kept you engaged.
Yeah.
Then came the interactive part of it, the amazing Bandersnatch Black Mirror example you gave, and then going into your world, and then going into your world of immersive or gaming world. Yeah, I mean, that's the evolution of the content strategy they're trying to go towards, and we'll see if gaming can become their next big hit, or we'll see immersive coming out soon. Well, you're doing some predictions here, Murali, along with talking about the content, so love it. Okay, so coming to your question about what would we do to make it better? I think you answered the question partially, that one is, can you make it more immersive through AR, VR? We haven't seen Netflix playing that a lot yet. So that's one area I'm not very aware. So I'll leave that to you and hear your thoughts after I speak about what I think about the fundamental change they can make. So I think the foundation here is, the challenge I see is, a user on Netflix is used to opening Netflix, click on the logo they see, the nice visual they see, learn about it, and boom, play the content, right? If you look at gaming, that's where the biggest challenge is, or the biggest friction right now is. You have to freaking install the app. Installing is huge friction point. If you ask any company in the world, asking to install is a big deal. Anyway, it defeats, it's against, it's not flowing with the mental model of a Netflix user. So if they can bridge that gap of showing games and you can quickly play a game, like how you do on Apple Games, maybe, would be a very strong offering. So I think it's a step forward to test gaming, where Netflix is becoming a studio to create the games, same as they create content, and now they're aggregating. If they can bridge the gap between creating content and easily allowing it to be, or creating game and easily allow them to play it through the Netflix interface without installing, that's where the bridge will be created for a solid experience. And that's where cloud gaming comes in. Right now, Facebook is doing that, Xbox is doing that, Google has Stadia. That's what they're focusing on, where they can just open Google, a whole experience and click on a game and you can play it. So I think the next step to improvement would be focusing on this bridge between where they are on aggregation of their own content through a disjointed experience. by building a cloud gaming interface to provide a very seamless user experience. So that's where I think it can be really good. So we spoke a lot about this earlier. What's your way of making it better? That's my angle. I'd love to hear your angle of making it better.
I am debating in my head on whether this angle should be within the same app, so the Netflix app, or whether it should be a standalone Netflix gaming app. And the reason I'm saying this is because I was thinking of these users that don't have Netflix right now. Would they want to go through the enrollment flow of Netflix that has the TV and the shows, or would they want a gaming-specific app? And the reason I'm saying this is because Netflix is so well known for the TV and the shows that the perception of someone that's not aware of how good the quality is of the gaming, they wouldn't think that gaming would be good enough. Whereas if it's a standalone thing, it'd be more interesting. So I'm kind of debating in myself on whether this could be a good approach or not. It's definitely a great strategy to tap on this market. It's definitely, money-wise and revenue-wise, it makes perfect sense. But I am a maybe, I want to say, on whether I think this approach is good. It could be so that Netflix is testing the water and they just want to see adoption and how long people are playing and kind of see if it's worth it. But I can see things splitting up eventually to a separate app.
Interesting.
I don't know. That's kind of my gut, what my gut tells me.
Interesting. Wow. I mean, for the first time, we have different opinions. So I think it will work out, but they have to marry their strength with and play to their strengths. And I'll use the anchor of Disney here. If you look at Disney's strategy, they really anchor hard on the content and build the entire experience around that. So if you look at a Mickey Mouse show or any the early cartoons that we saw, it's not just the content that you see merchandise, you see games, you see rides, and they build on top of that. There's a connection with the content. And Netflix has those hits. You have Stranger Games, to your point, you have Black Mirror. Honestly, if there's a Stranger Games game, which is super interactive and actually a game that I can play, I would love it. So I do think there is space for it, but by surgically attacking on those specific content that people really care about, people love about, they're emotionally caring for doing anything with the content and making games for those content, yes, then I will play those games. But if it's a random aggregator, well, sure, I can go to Apple Games as well to play those games.
Exactly.
So I'm there with you, but
Exactly.
I do see a surgical attack can happen there. A surgical approach can happen there where Netflix can find a sweet spot between their content and the games on top of those content. So that's my prediction on where this can go and can create more value for users and also for Netflix.
Execution needs to be very delicate, but there is an angle where it could be extremely successful. But there's also an angle where it could be like a failure in a way. So I'm excited to see where this goes. I think that was a great topic. I love that we have kind of different opinions there, and we kind of approach this in a different perspective and mindset. So I think this was really, really great. I think should we reveal what the overall content of episode 3 should be? No, let's keep it a secret. But stay tuned so that you can see what episode 3 entails.
Awesome.
Mayank, any final words?
Yeah, let me summarize this then. For this week, we talked about Netflix gaming. Netflix launched brand new content for users. The big gotcha we see here is, yes, it's great for users. They come to Netflix anyway. Good addition to their subscription, like Amazon Prime. Any new thing creates more value. However, the big gotcha here is you have to install the app. And Netflix is mere an aggregator. They have to bridge this gap to create value. Will it help users? Yes, it might. We think it might help certain type of users who really connect with the content. Will it help their business? It's a good strategy to acquire new users. As Netflix is a game of hits, this may lead to new user acquisition, help user engagement. But the crux to Murali's point is, how will they execute? And this is yet to be seen. So we'll keep a strong eye on this and keep reporting about the progress. So that's all for this week. Let us know what you think about Netflix gaming. We would love to know your thoughts. Until next time, take care.
Thank you. Bye.